Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch or listen to this podcast. It's me, Omar, again, joined by a friend of the podcast. We got Bobby from TNT College Football Podcast. In the summer, we had him on the podcast talking about the ACC quarterbacks and just the great crop of quarterbacks that they had that would have been Heisman contenders. And that went about as well as you can imagine, especially like me. I was big on Phil Jurkovec. Me
Yeah.
and my friend John, we lament the Phil Jurkovec Heisman train for the past 2 years, and also Sam Hartman as well. But otherwise, it's just great. Bobby's been putting out so much content and just like been kind of like the leader of like that UConn community. So Bobby, how's everything going?
Doing great, Omar. First off, thanks for having me. Glad to be back on. We might have missed on some of the ACC quarterbacks, but hey, it's a crapshoot at the beginning of the year. But
Yeah.
it's been such an amazing ride to watch UConn this year. Just playing those three big P5 schools at the beginning of the year, it was difficult. Obviously, I was at the Michigan game. That was rough to say the least. but but you could see things coming together. They had to play so many young guys this year. It was just unbelievable. We can get into that, but it's been an amazing ride. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I totally agree. I think it wasn't the Fresno State game for me that like, kind of turned my head and everything. But just like as the season went on with UConn, like and I mean they just kept winning, they kept winning
Mhm.
games that they were supposed to win, games that like they wouldn't even be, favored in past years. I became a believer. I think for me, I finally started to believe with the Boston College game. You know, that's definitely when I finally came around of course, with them, holding Phil Jurkovec and that Boston College offense at 3 points, but just a signature performance by Coach Moore's team. But yeah, I'm excited too because it seems like they're in a sweet spot as an independent, and I mean we have, I guess a big three of independence when it comes to, UMass, UConn, and Army, and of course Notre Dame. But I mean just those three in the Northeast. So it should be a fun time.
Absolutely, and just kind of the I'll say rivalry that those three schools kind of have. I mean, UMass and UConn. I mean, I think a lot of people know that rivalry pretty well, and UConn plays Army pretty continuously, especially recently. And I know UConn or UMass played Army this year as well. So I think it's a great thing for all three schools to kind of play each other too for proximity purposes and everything. But just the fact that you're independents too, kind of it just makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, as there's lacking a Northeast conference, it's good to have at least, some semblance of a Northeast conference with these like three teams playing each other.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely great. So I guess we'll get to the main topic of our discussion today or tonight, where we have UConn, where will they go bowling? And I guess what we'll talk about for me, there's three realistic options, just looking at each conference's bowl allotment and a selection process, and there's one that really sticks out as probably like the main contender and like the most logical option, and we're both excited for it, especially you, Bobby, for geographic
Yes.
reasons. Like I'm not sure if you mentioned last time where like where you live, so we won't spoil anything at the beginning, but looking at the first two bowls that UConn could appear in, and why, we have the Gasparilla Bowl and the Birmingham Bowl, because looking at the SEC's bowl selection process, they have, of course, the Sugar Bowl. They have the Citrus Bowl too, which takes the best team that's not in the New Year's Six out of the SEC. Then they have a pool of six bowls. I'm not going to name all six bowls, and then after that, at the bottom of the barrel, then you have the Birmingham Bowl and the Gasparilla Bowl. And I'm not sure if there's a structured order, but I'm more inclined to think that the SEC would send a team to the Birmingham Bowl. I guess just because it's closer to a lot of teams in the conference, and the Gasparilla Bowl has picked a lot of Group of Five teams too, in relation to the Birmingham Bowl. So I guess with either bowl, I guess the pros and cons, Bobby, as a UConn fan, just looking at those two bowls on the surface.
I've seen a lot of projections. Especially recently, uh, putting the Huskies in a Gasparilla Bowl, which I think all these projections are just. I mean, it is what it is. Anybody can make something and throw it out there. I mean, that's what you and I do for. So, but at the same time, though, honestly, I think the Gasparilla Bowl is exciting, obviously because of the location. I mean, it's going to hopefully be warmer. um, Something that UConn fans and people from the Northeast are going to be excited about. And I agree with you from the Birmingham Bowl perspective that it would make sense that they would want to send an SEC team there because of the proximity aspect. But at the same time, uh, I'll tell you one thing, and this may blow our entire discussion out out of it, but UConn fans are just excited to go bowling. They could send us to the moon and we would go play. We're just thrilled that we have the opportunity. But I think I think from those two bowls perspectives, at least from everything I've read and seen, and from what Husky fans are saying, that the Gasparilla Bowl seems a lot more realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. And for also too, I do think that the American would place one of their, I guess, the loser of the AAC title game in the Birmingham Bowl because I mean Tulane especially. I'm not wishing it into existence because I want the Green Wave to win this Saturday, but Tulane fairly close to Birmingham, and then same thing with UCF. I mean, just to get UCF out of Florida. And bowling, and I mean
Mhm.
that's probably the best option for them geographically to go bowling. So they'd probably face probably, whether it be I mean, not Missouri, but maybe in Arkansas or I mean even Florida too. If it's UCF, it's definitely not going to be Florida, I don't think. But
Right, right.
after last year,
I
but
can't imagine they would do that again.
yeah, especially ESPN. I mean ESPN, the ones pulling the TV strings, like they definitely would not do that. So that's the way I see it. Like the Gasparilla definitely is more realistic, and I mean, who knows with the Gasparilla Bowl? I mean, from the looks of it, I mean, you could probably get a really good Sun Belt team playing the Gasparilla
Mhm.
Bowl, whether it be like South Alabama or Southern Miss, just a team that's kind of close by in the South region. So I mean, it should be a fun bowl for UConn. I'm gonna add another bowl too, just based off the tie-ins because it doesn't really look optimal for this particular conference to send a team there. I'm looking at the New Mexico Bowl, of course. My family, in New Mexico, out there in Rio Rancho, suburb of Albuquerque, and of course me, 4 hours away from Albuquerque, will be attending that game with the family this year. Conference USA, looking at their teams, the most optimal team that would probably go to the New Mexico Bowl. Actually, there's two. UTSA probably, but I have them go to the New Orleans Bowl against probably the
Mhm.
Sun Belt champion because again that creates like a faux New Year's Six game for both conferences,
Right.
especially Troy, who definitely deserves to be ranked over UCF. It's truly a farce, but yeah, I mean, I don't think UTSA would find themselves in the New Mexico Bowl against the middling Mountain West team. The other option I think is Rice. Rice at 5-7 guaranteed a bowl berth due to their good grades, and they haven't been to a bowl since 2015. They've never been in the New Mexico Bowl. I mean, Houston's kind of a ways away from Albuquerque, but it's better than sending Western Kentucky, or I'm trying to think who else hasn't been taken. I mean, maybe North Texas could make the trip, but um, so I guess thoughts on UConn going to New Mexico. I mean, the New Mexico Bowl too. There are rumors too. I guess this is. I'm not sure if you heard this, Bob. You probably have. But the good old New Mexico Bowl switcheroo with the Las Vegas Bowl switching TV slots, where the New Mexico Bowl could be a primetime ABC bowl game. So maybe not the best destination tourist wise. I mean, I can say that having lived in New Mexico for sure for let's see 2011 2016 for 5 years, but yeah, like maybe not the best option tourist wise, but an ABC TV slot is amazing, especially in prime time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it'd be huge if you're able to get that time slot. Last time we were on the ABC uh, time slot was against Michigan this year. So I know it will be a lot better showing this time around. But let me ask you about this one. One rumor I've heard also with that bowl game is the potential of New Mexico State. And I
Yes.
have a friend who plays for New Mexico State, where I would be thrilled to see you kind of New Mexico State play in the New Mexico Bowl because I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, the two best stories of the year. I agree with you 100%. The only thing I have with that is like it being two independents playing, and I know it's like technically
Yeah.
like not the same conference, but it's still kind of weird, honestly, like
Mhm.
to not have an independent versus the conference team. But I do think New Mexico State's waiver will go through. If the NCAA doesn't accept it, it's a really bad PR move if they don't accept the waiver. Uh, After all, they approved one waiver today. Valparaiso, New Mexico State. I'll be at the game. I'm very excited for that one. History to be made. But yeah, like I think if New Mexico State plays in that one, I think you can write UConn off on that, honestly.
Yeah,
Just
I
because, yeah.
agree.
But I mean, it would be fascinating.
No, I agree with you. But if, like we were saying, if UConn does play in that game, I mean, I would be thrilled because, for one, that's a part of the country I've never been to, so I'm all for that. I mean, that's part of what I do is I travel all over the place to games, so I'm all for going to New Mexico. But at the same time, I think I get what you're saying, that it's not like the marquee destination that you necessarily want to go to. But I think that that time slot is the huge thing. If you're able to play on ABC in a marquee game, I think it's huge, especially for what UConn's building.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, with you saying that, I think you have to be a fan over the next 2 weeks of whoever's playing the Raiders and whoever's playing the Patriots, so they can flex that game away from NBC to make that possible.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, like I agree though. I mean, what a huge boost. I mean, I'm already excited too for whoever, whether it be I mean UConn or Conference USA team and the Mountain West team they play against, just for the exposure boost that would be, just being that Saturday night game. Because ever since ABC started airing bowl games in prime time on the first Saturday bowl season, like I thought it's been great for college football, great for the network and everything. Just I mean, it's just a great feeling. The opening Saturday of bowl season, the ABC triple header, just seeing that last bowl game on ABC, especially the LA Bowl last year. What a great game that was
Great
and
game.
everything. Yeah, just a great game. Jimmy Kimmel's shenanigans aside and everything. But I mean, just it would just be great to be the nightcap for sure. And I mean,
Hmm.
technically it's Saturday Night Football. You won't get Herb Street and Fowler, but you'll get someone noteworthy.
Right. We'll take it. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be unbelievable. I mean, like you said, it's the marquee game. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to play on Saturday night?
exactly. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I guess maybe not that weekend too, because NFL like does their thing. But I've not watched an NFL game on the opening Saturday bowl season, honestly, like ever. Like it just doesn't pique my interest. So I think that brings us to our last bowl game and probably the one that we are both most excited for. I know I sound like a broken record saying this, but the Quick Lane Bowl. The Quick Lane Bowl would be honestly, I think they would be dumb to not accept UConn or not invite UConn to their bowl game because they have two things going for them. They're close regionally, of course, compared to the other bowl games we've mentioned, but also too they're not owned by ESPN, so there really isn't kind of a workaround that UConn has to go through. And I'll elaborate that on that more, just being an Army fan. In 2020, the crazy pandemic bowl season, Army was the first team to accept a bowl bid. I still remember, I think it was Columbus Day weekend against Citadel. Where I was in the stands as a cadet, and because there was no other outside fans in the stadium, like had a seat by the sideline. I saw the Independence Bowl representatives and kind of talked to them a little bit. But they invited Army to the Independence Bowl. They were shooing, of course. They were tied in that bowl game that year. But because the Pac-12 didn't send, they only sent I think two teams to bowl games that year with the pandemic. Army was left without a bowl game, and they were left without a bowl game because ESPN had to pretty much fill the bowls with their TV partners first. So same thing applies for UConn this year as well. So had there been, I guess, 83, well, maybe not 83 because ESPN was going to create a bowl anyway for if there was one or two teams over. But if there was like a few teams over, then UConn was in really, high danger of being squeezed out because they're not a broadcast partner of ESPN, nor do they have a deal with ESPN bowl games like Army does every other year, or New Mexico State does, for instance. So I guess long story short, because the Quick Lane Bowl is owned by the Lions and not ESPN, there's not any hoops to jump through for UConn to go to this game. And then if you're the Quick Lane Bowl, you have to be excited because instead of getting well, I guess yeah, you'd want a bottom level Big Ten team, of course. I mean, it's close. They're close regionally. They're a brand name. But taking UConn is a heck of a lot better than taking Nevada like they did last year, having
Hmm.
forcing Nevada fans to travel to Detroit the day after Christmas on less than a month's notice. For UConn fans, it'll be a way less difficult trip. So I guess Bobby, I mean, take it away, the pros and cons in this one, and I guess why would you be excited most by a quick lane bowl
Oh
appearance?
man, don't get me started. I am born and raised in Flint, Michigan. I grew up in like 45 minutes to an hour north of Detroit. I live in Illinois now. I'm a diehard Detroit Lions fan to my core. It is a curse, but still, nonetheless, if if UConn was able to play in the Quick Lane Bowl, no one would be at Ford Field faster than me because Ford Field is like my second home because of my beloved Detroit Lions. So I wouldn't be able to get a ticket fast enough. First of all, so selfishly, that's what I want. One, because it's the quickest trip for me. Two, it's where I lived for the majority of my life, and it's just fun for me. It'd be amazing. But there's so many other reasons, like you said. I mean, the proximity of travel for UConn fans, it just works so much better. It's in the Eastern time zone. It's there's so many things. I mean, I know UConn fans in particular aren't like super excited about going to Detroit. And, I mean, you want to go to a warmer place and all this and that, but it's like I'm from there. I'll tell you, Detroit isn't that bad. For goodness sake, everyone, it's a wonderful place. I know there's so many bad stories about Detroit, and some of them are true, yes, but it where Ford Field is, they've built an entire all the sport complexes are right there. They've built amazing condos and apartments. They've done just a fantastic job building that area up. It's a fantastic area. Like I said, all the other professional franchises play there. Comerica Park is literally across the street. And then where Little Caesars Arena, where the Pistons and Red Wings play, is literally across the highway. They're all right there. It's a fantastic area. Um, and just again, I agree with you that it would make sense. Obviously, if a Big Ten team like Michigan State or the like, that's obviously who you want. But like you said, Nevada has to go across the country last year to play. Not ideal for them and for the Quick Lane Bowl either. So UConn, I have to imagine that flight would only be an hour and a half, if that even. So it would just be it's a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree as well. And I just looked up that same night, December 26th, the Pistons are playing the Clippers. So,
Oh
you
no,
get to
my
experience
wife's gonna be so mad at me.
okay. I wish I never admitted that. But I was thinking like on the tourist side of things, just you'd want to see, couple that with the Pistons game. But I mean, I think you hit it on the head too. Like, I mean, Detroit, I visited a friend there last summer, and I was amazed. I mean, that I guess the fear mongering, the fear. I was amazed and kind of disappointed in the fear mongering because downtown Detroit is beautiful along the Riverwalk and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like, and again, the fans that complain about going to Detroit for a bowl game, it's like it's indoors. I really don't get the gripe, honestly. Like,
Yes,
it's indoors. If you don't want to go outside, then don't go outside. Like, go to a museum or something. But
you're not going to
no
Green
one's
Bay.
yeah, exactly. Like, no one's asking you to go outside. Like,
Yeah.
but all that aside, UConn is more than familiar with the MAC. I mean, of course, this year they played Ball State. But UConn, their record against current MAC teams, they're 26-14. Against the bowl eligible MAC teams, they're 23-6. 1-0 against Toledo, who they played in the 2004 Motor City Bowl. And I'm not sure if this was a testament of more Toledo fans, with Toledo being about an hour away from Detroit. Yeah, I think an hour away from Detroit, but yeah, that game drew 52,000 fans. So I'll say it's a little bit of UConn as their first bowl game as well. UConn is also 2-0 versus Ohio, 1-1 versus Eastern Michigan, and 16-5 versus Buffalo. So I'm gonna ask you first, Bobby. Out of those four bowl eligible MAC teams, because we already have one bowl slot already opened up for the MAC with the Bahamas Bowl with Miami of Ohio going to that one. Out of all the bowl eligible MAC teams, who would you want UConn to play the most?
I think you're drawn to Buffalo right away because of the proximity Northeast team. I think that would be it'd be cool. But like you said, they've played each other many times in the past. I personally think Eastern Michigan is the best team in the MAC. They're the best coach team in the MAC, that's for sure. Chris Creighton is an unbelievable coach. What he's done there has never been done before. I mean, he's a fantastic football coach. I think a healthy Toledo team worries you a little bit because that quarterback he's very talented. And I feel for Ohio because their quarterback Rourke has had an amazing year, amazing career, really. Just with his injury. So I mean, personally, I think it'd be cool to play Buffalo. I think it'd also be cool to play Eastern Michigan just because of the proximity. I know Eastern Michigan and their fans probably don't want to play in Detroit just because that's where they live. But still, it would, I think it'd be cool for that opportunity. Um, and then Ohio and Toledo present great opportunities too, just because you don't know who's going to be healthy at the quarterback position, who's going to play. Rourke from Ohio has been ruled out for the whole year, so you kind of feel for them. So that stinks, but it'll be interesting to see how that game goes this weekend. Just from see who wins that. But yeah, I, again, as Husky fans and myself, we're just excited for the opportunity. First of all, but if you tell me I got to pick somebody, I'd say Buffalo and then Eastern Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm kinda leaning that way too, except, like, with Buffalo, I mean, uh, UConn already played Buffalo in 2009, International Bowl. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure how much that's on the mind of Quick Lane Bowl organizers, but that's on my mind too. It's like, as an Army fan, I like seeing as many different bowl opponents as possible,
Yes.
just for that reason, just for, I guess, diversity and whatnot. So that's something that draws me from Buffalo, even though it is cool, like a good Northeastern rivalry, like some nice familiarity too. But I feel like it's not enough of a rivalry for there to be kind of like any animosity. It's more like, hey, we're in the same region, and
Mm-hmm.
that's that. Only 21 meetings all time between the two schools. But even though it would be nice, it would be nice for sure. Going on to Toledo and Ohio, I think they're pretty much, I guess, not in the discussion in my opinion to go to the Quick Lane Bowl, of course, because they're playing in the MAC title game in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, and you know, I think Bulls tend to avoid that too. I mean, especially a fan base like Ohio, where you have a good potential for that team to win their first MAC title since 1968. I think Ohio fans will show up to Detroit, and I think they'll show up only that time and not for the Quick Lane Bowl. Uh, I mean Toledo, same thing too. For Toledo, it's the same thing with UConn or with Buffalo, where UConn played in the '04 Motor City Bowl, and it's like kind of like that familiarity. So the two opponents that I would like to see UConn play would be Eastern Michigan and Bowling Green. Um, with all that in mind, what I think will happen, I think that the Quick Lane Bowl will actually put Buffalo in there into the Quick Lane Bowl because Eastern Michigan was last there in 2019. And I mean that's the easy answer if you're the Quick Lane Bowl. Just have all three all three Michigan MAC schools, rotate every single year in the Quick Lane Bowl till the end of time. But I think Eastern Michigan fans, especially after having an 8-4 year, I think they would match up well against, a Mountain West team in the Potato Bowl, or send them down to Alabama for, or maybe not the Camellia Bowl or the Lending Tree Bowl. Shoot, forgot about those ones, but send them to the Boca Raton Bowl against, another group of five teams, see how they match up, I guess, like a Conference USA team. Um, or a Sun Belt team. But yeah, so I do think that it's either Buffalo, it would be either Buffalo or Bowling Green, which I think the Quick Lane Bowl ends up picking Buffalo to play UConn in the Quick Lane Bowl if UConn goes to the Quick Lane Bowl.
I forgot about Bowling Green, to be completely honest with you. I think that would be a cool opportunity as well. But yes, I agree with you. I think that I think they're going to do everything they can to not have Toledo and Ohio potentially go there two times in a row. And I also agree with what you said about having a little variety in it. I just think it's cool to see teams that you don't see your team play very often or ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just the fun of bowl games, honestly, like,
Mm-hmm.
just seeing those matchups too. Because like, looking at some of these projections, like, I think CBS had Rice versus SMU in the
Oh,
Armed Forces Bowl, and it's just like, that's gonna be a conference game for
right.
so many years onward. It's like, no one really wants that, like,
No, their
it's
fans don't want that.
yeah, they don't want that. I mean, maybe I guess maybe it's good for TV, but I just can't see. Yeah, I just don't see that being an enjoyable experience for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, just either whether it be Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, or Bowling Green. I mean, I'm excited to see whoever UConn would play. I know we're talking like it is going to happen, but I just got a feeling that the Quick Lane Bowl smart that there's smart people in the Detroit Lions organization. At least with the bowl game, maybe maybe not on the field at times. Even though I
Yes.
mean, I root for the Lions too. I mean, 'cause my best friend's a Lions fan, so I mean, I root for them too, along with my Niners. But I like to think there's smart people in the Detroit Lions organization that'll do the right thing and put UConn in the bowl game instead of the other option being a Sun Belt school, which I mean the Sun Belt has history in the Detroit bowl games, or another Mountain West school, which I don't think either party wants that, to be honest.
No. After what happened last year, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there we have it. I mean, I'm not sure if you watched your list or if you saw us tease us on Twitter. If you guessed there was a quick lane bowl, then I mean, good on you. If not, uh, well, I guess we'll continue to use I guess tactics like this, to keep things under wraps. But Bobby, do you have anything else to add?
Like I said, nobody's hoping for the quick lane bowl more than me. But at the same time, I know I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm just excited that the Huskies are going bowling. Just an opportunity that they haven't had in a while, and an opportunity that probably not very many people besides myself thought was going to happen this year.
I didn't. Yeah, I definitely
Yeah,
didn't. So.
no,
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I mean, UConn going bowling is definitely a consolation for Army not going bowling. I mean, sad, but and same thing with New Mexico State. So I guess I'm stuck with rooting for other fan bases, that to enjoy, just to I guess living vicariously through other fan bases this bowl season. Hopefully not next bowl season, but I'm thrilled for UConn as well. And I guess I put aside my insecurities. As I mean, UConn Army can be a healthy Northeastern rivalry.
yes, yes, it
Let me
can.
set aside those insecurities. So, yeah, thanks again, Bobby. Really appreciate it. And I mean, I want to plug your podcast to TNT College Football on Spotify. You don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So just on Spotify, you can catch Bobby. He contributes to SSN College Football or SSN Sports, excuse me. SSN Sports. He's a college football contributor. And then also to plug for myself, Bobby's invited me to appear in his podcast next Thursday to preview the Army Navy game, which of course, the best rivalry in college football. Michigan Ohio State fans, you can argue with me in the comments, but the best rivalry in college football. I'm excited to hop on and just talk the two things I love most, Army football and the triple option. So I'm so excited. But again, Bobby, do you have anything final to add?
I, again, just thank you for having me on, and I look forward to having you on my show because you're my insight into Army, so I'm excited to learn a little bit more.
It'll open some wounds, to be honest. So as I do my research, it'll open some wounds on a season that could have gone so many directions. But if we can just end it with a win against Navy, then I guess
Mhm.
I guess everything will be healed. Who needs bowl games anyway when you beat Navy? So
This is the only game where, well, this and the other service academy games where like somebody like me who's not affiliated with either program like you are, where I literally sit there and I'm like, I don't want either team to lose.
yeah, I mean,
I
I can
know
just
for you
imagine.
that's not, that's obviously not the case, but
No, no. Especially just and I'll probably mention this again in the podcast, especially since being a kid, being an army fan with both parents serving the army. I mean, just growing up crying after so many army losses as a kid during the streak. Uh, it was great. It was great to have the team go 3-1 against them, when I was a kid, and especially the missed field goal in 2017. That was just sweet bliss and revenge after everything that I'd gone through as a kid. But I mean, it's a fun time of the year, and at that point, it's like I'm in full Christmas mode, which I will recommend too. Recently at Goodwill, I bought a Civil War, A Year Inside Army Navy by John Feinstein. Definitely a book that any college football fan needs to read. I bought it again, so I'll probably read it. Let's see, I got 11 days, or yeah, I got 11 days to finish it, so probably read through it cover to cover again. But A Civil War by John Feinstein, a great book to read during this time of year, and really during any time to just get the full soul of college football, especially in this NIL era. So that's all I have. Bobby, thank you again for coming on, and this certainly, I mean, obviously won't be the last time. Be the first of many time or second of many times where we communicate on each other's podcasts. But until
Absolutely.
next yeah, until next time, everyone, thank you for watching, listening, and peace, love, and soul.